Hello. This is going to be a companion video to this article I made regarding using GitHub Copilot to build Splunk searches. I know it's not a super common thing, and I don't know how applicable it is to people, but hopefully this video helps to explain some of the stuff I talk about in the article. And before I start, this is really the workflow that I have. The workflow that might work for you may be different, so just do or at least the hope of this video and the article is just to give you some ideas of how other people are using Copilot apart from just coding. So maybe you'll learn a couple things to take away from the video. That's the main goal. So to start with, you'll need Visual Studio Code installed. You'll also need GitHub Copilot configured. I have another video, or you could probably watch anyone else's video to set it up. It's super simple. So I have Copilot enabled. Another thing is we need a place to work out of. So I'm going to make a folder on my desktop called Splunk. And a lot of this revolves around writing the SPL inside of Markdown. So Markdown is a language, I think, Markdown. Oh my god, I can't type with this mic in the way. But Markdown Guide is a nice site that has some basic syntax. So it's super simple to learn. It makes your notes look really nice, and a lot of different tools incorporate Markdown and render it really nicely. The second thing is, or the next thing is, in Copilot, we'll need to configure it to be able to give us completions. That's going to be really the main thing that I'm talking about in here. So once we have a space to work in, I'm going to create a new search or a new folder called splunksearches.md for Markdown. If you're going to be working with Markdown, I really recommend it. You'll want to download a extension for Markdown. It's this one, this all-in-one extension, and it gives a lot of really nice functionality, Markdown functionality. So now within Copilot, you'll want to do this little drop down up here. Go to configure code completions and make sure that this is enabled. So right now it says it's ready and it says disable completion, so we're good to go. If you don't have that enabled, I think by default it doesn't enable it for Markdown, so you may need to do that. But once we have it enabled, we're going to start typing in here. And as I mentioned in the article, Markdown serves as a really good way to take notes and get kind of your thoughts together for the SPL or the dashboards you're working on, and then you get the added benefit of Copilot helping you. At the start, with Copilot, so the models that it's using, like GPT-4o right now, even Claude, Sonnet 3.5, and so on, they don't have a lot of training data in their base model to be really good with SPL. But here what we're going to do is we're going to keep this note going, so it anchors onto the style of SPL and the type of commands that we're using, so that when we continue to write, it has some foundation to anchor onto, kind of like ground or truth grounding, I think Google calls it. So here, just straight from the example here, I'm just going to copy this and we'll see what happens. With Copilot, there's a few different ways to work with it. First is just straight in line. So I just copied this over, and like I suggested here, as soon as you click enter or space or just wait somewhere, you'll see a little loading bar down here, or a loading circle. This Copilot will turn into a loading circle, and it gives you a completion. As the tooltip suggests, either I can tab to accept this whole completion that it's suggesting, or I can hold control and accept pieces of it. And I can just do tab, accepts the whole thing. In Markdown, these 3 ticks is a code block. So this is how you write Markdown. And if I click Control-Shift-V, it'll render it. So this is what the Markdown rendered looks like. And for the very top 3 ticks, I can put in the language. Like I can put in Python here. If I was writing Python, for us it's SPL. And I have this two Splunk extensions. I have the syntax extension, which I believe is giving us the syntax highlighting for Markdown, and I also have the Splunk extension, which adds a whole bunch of other Splunk functionality. So that's the gist of it. If I wanted to, let's say, edit this and make the, let's make the username, say username instead of just user, I can highlight this. I can do, or highlight the whole code block. In this example, I'll do Control I. Oh, to do that, I'll need to go in here real quick. I'm going to look up the Control I. So in Markdown, Control I is to italics. I'm going to, or convert it to italics. I am going to remove the key binding there so that it'll go back to the Copilot key binding. So now Control I opens up the inline chat, so I can ask it something super simple here, which is just, can you make, and it'll suggest the change. Obviously there's a whole lot more complex things it can do, and I can accept it. The other way is to talk in the chat. So if I click this button up here, it'll open up the side chat, and I can ask it, can you explain this SPL? So it's explaining what it is. I can also ask, can you suggest updates? And it can provide me some updates. And let's say we want to bring this over, but we don't want to just copy and paste. There is a copy button. We can click apply here, and it'll use the LLM to apply it here, and then it's giving us the changes. So I'll just do undo for now. Another option that this gives you is the edit mode. So I can switch to edit mode. I'll start a new chat and say, can you add documentation to the SPL? And with edit mode, it knows that we want it to make changes here. So it's gonna just start with giving us a recommendation of what it thinks needs to be added in for documentation. Either I can one by one click here. Here there's only one suggestion, so it's not too bad to just click over here. Or you can come down here. If there's a bunch of other files, I can click keep. Let's say I don't want the documentation in this file. I just want to write SPL in here. I could also ask it, can you move the doc part into a Splunk docs.md. So it has the ability to create new files as well. So you'll see in this file it's recommending I delete this section, and in this one it's adding it, but it looks like the GUI part isn't working. And I can either go through and click the checkbox on both of them, and this little square with the circle indicates that there are changes pending, or I can just come down here and click keep. And there we go. So we have the two, they're saved, and the changes have been made. So you can ask the Copilot here to make changes for you, or write SPL for you, but the Copilot tends to hallucinate a lot, like we talked about earlier. So typically what I use this for is not to generate SPL, but to help me write and take out some of the tedious parts. So again, it serves as a way to take notes, speed up the workflow for writing out the SPL, and it makes it easy for me to convert this into documentation that I can share with other people. Another cool part in the chat is if I have a bunch of different files, I can add context. So either use a code base option where it'll go through and figure out what files it needs to reference, or I can manually reference files. As you can see, both of these files that we've created is in the context. I can go in and just delete the docs one, and now it'll just have the docs or the Splunk searches markdown file in its context. So that's the chat window. But we'll go back to the inline because that's how I tend to use it. So some recommendations here is that I usually start off with putting some examples in here. I added some examples in the article. So at the bottom, I'm going to copy this, paste this in here, and I'll kind of explain this. So at the top with Markdown, this is how you do headers with the little hash symbols, but I'll have examples up here. So these are, I'm sure you have some SPL that you tend to reference or shows how you write SPL well, like just searches that you have saved. I would pop a few of those in here. And the goal is to show a variety of searches in for Copilot to kind of anchor down to. So you don't need to show the best SPL that you have, but just have some variety in here so it knows the different kind of patterns you like to use. So in this example, I have a REST call up here because occasionally you'll find yourself doing REST or commands based off of the REST command or searches based off of the REST command. I have another one that does t-stats on a data model. And I have another one that's just a regular like Windows index search, but with some additional documentation on it. So a little bit of variety here, and that's really the goal. And I add this little break. So this dash, 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 it's a horizontal line. So if I do Control Shift V, you'll see how it renders out. This is how the notes render out. And there's a horizontal line down here. And then below that is where I start typing. And in here, I also left room for other stuff. Like if you use some lookups very often, add some context about the lookup in here and how, like examples of you using it or macros or other special commands. I'll just get rid of this for now since we don't need this for this example. So we have all the searches here. They're just examples. As far as, or currently, it seems like if you have too much context in here, like too much examples, it tends to slow Copilot down. So don't go super overboard. Again, the goal is to have a variety of examples for Copilot to reference. So now that I have that, I have this line break. I'm going to create a new section where I'm going to work on something now. And so I'll open up Perplexity here on this window. And I'm just going to look up what are the event IDs for Windows relating to scheduled tasks. I did not spell that right, but hopefully it gets that right. So I'm gonna, while that's doing its thing, I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna backspace, and I'm gonna create a new entry. So this is gonna be a report for scheduled tasks, just to show how this works. So I can collapse that whole example section. Copilot can still reference it, but I don't need to see it. And this is how I work. So here I'll add some notes and then start doing the SPL. You can do it this way where you're kind of keeping it all in one big markdown file. And if it gets too big, just copy it over into another markdown file and just continue it here. Or break it apart based off of like the app you're working in or whatever. You'll find the flow that works well for you. I don't like that. I'm gonna go look up Windows event IDs for scheduled task creation. Let's look at the Microsoft documentation. Okay, so we have some stuff over here. Let me full screen this real quick. So we have scheduled task creation, deletion, enable, disable, update. I'm just gonna make a report that'll just show me these. So I'm gonna copy just this part right here because really that's all I care about for now. And I'm gonna paste it in here as kind of like a note. And then I'm just gonna start building. So I will tick, 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 SPL. And from here I'll start writing it. And I'll close it off with another 3 ticks just to make it clean. And here you can see already, I'm going to tab complete this, but when event log, right? Where did it get that from? Got it from right here, because that's how we've written, or we've already used when event log one time, and it knows that is an index that exists. You can add maybe a context in here somewhere, like list of indexes, and just have a bunch of indexes in here if you want. And also event code in, like using the in operator, it sees that as an example here, and that's a pattern that we use, and it's going to continue that. Let's say we don't want the integers like this, and we want it to be in double quotes. either I can highlight it, Control I, and ask Copilot, or I can just backspace this out, open a double quote, and it knows that I want to do that pattern throughout. And we'll do that. And then I'm just going to do a simple stats count by host. So we'll do stats count as occurrences. Oh, this is even better. So it's giving me earliest as earliest. We'll do earliest time as latest time. And let's say I don't want to write it out in this like line format, just all in one line. I can go back here, do a comma, enter tab, and have it continue that pattern. It looks like this time it didn't actually continue, so I'll do earliest time, comma, enter, and it's not having fun with this, but there we go. So it should continue with this kind of pattern. Sometimes it trips up like you just saw. So again, it's just stats, and now at this point we'll have a count with the earliest, latest, and the event code. So now I want to convert the time into something a little bit more readable. So it's already giving me the option, and I already like that. And there we go. So it did the comma separation, and it placed it in a new line like I have up here. I'm going to tab complete and accept that as well. And the final thing I want to do for this one is I want to give a description here. Obviously, we could use like a lookup for it, but I'm just going to do an eval with like a case statement in here. So I'm going to do another comma here. I'm going to do, and didn't even have to specify anything since it kind of saw what we were doing up here as an example. And I'm going to tab complete and accept that, and I can shift tab. And if I wanted to clean it up, like let's say it looked like this and I just wanted to clean it up, I could just copy this into search and reporting and do like control pipe, or I think it's control shift F to do the formatting in there and then bring it back over. But I'm just going to highlight and do shift tab to move that over. And there we go. At that point, we have, I'll table it here. What we have the event code, we have the occurrences and the time. It's been formatted, and actually, I don't want event code to get replaced. I want to keep event code, and I want the description separate. So I'm going to highlight this. And if you only highlight the content inside of these ticks inside of a code block, it does kind of mess up a little bit. Here, I'll show you. Can you keep the event code, but put the description in a description field? And let's see what it does. Okay, so it did that for us. Obviously would have been something simple to do in this instance, but just showing that off. So it's going to eval to a description field instead of evaling back to event code. And it was intelligent enough to add it into the table as well for us. And this is what I'm talking about. So if you're going to ask it to do something that's already in a code block, I would just highlight the whole code block instead of highlighting just the code inside. And then if I want to rename, I can also use Copilot to do that as well. So rename, and it's already seen the format that I have up here. So it's going to go with that. Or let's say we want to go with like underscore. So I can just do event underscore code, and then it should just carry that over into all the other ones. And of course, as I say that, it doesn't do that. So I'm going to tab complete up to here and then do another underscore. And oops. Now for the last one. And the more examples you have, it tends to do a lot better. And you can change the underlying model, but 4.0 is decent. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. So from here, maybe I can add in, I'm going to do Control I. Can you add some docs for the SPL? Oh my God, both. Oh, I think it might be because, can you add some docs for the SPL? I think it needs you to, yeah, you gotta highlight it. have to highlight it for the inline chat. So we'll just do that. I think it'll just update this part right here. Okay, that's a lot, and I put it in a HTML comment block, interestingly. I think it's HTML comment block. And I will grab that and put it in here. So that wasn't the greatest example of it, but we also have, we have the chat window here with edit mode to do that for us as well. And just like with any of the other LLMs, it does a lot better when you give it examples to work off of. But I think for, I guess this would be, there are examples, so I guess it wouldn't be one shot. But with the minimal examples we've given it, I think this is good. If we had some examples in here of other documentation we've done, it probably would have done better. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you want to split this out into Splunk searches windows.md, and then maybe like you do a lot of Windows stuff, just grab this, pull it over to the Windows one, and you've already got a start. And then from here, we can do alert for scheduled tasks and then start building from there. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, concerns, or tips on how you're using this, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.